Hello Internet, so nice to see you. Let's say that you are a rock or blues or pop musician, or you in general play some kind of music, or you just started and you want to get started into jazz music. That's not a goal for everybody. Some people like jazz music, some people don't like jazz music, but if you do want to play jazz music and you are not a jazz musician right now, one thing that would be really useful for you is to know how jazz is different than other kinds of music. What kind of things you need to change from the music you know already to make it jazz. So, essentially, jazz for rock musician or jazz for blues musician, or if you want, jazz for pop musician, this kind of thing, okay? A student of mine asked me exactly that. They wanted to start into jazz and they're already a fairly good player in other styles. So that's the answer I gave them.
So I was wanting to get into a little bit of jazz. I have zero background in it, and I was wanting to expand my creative toolbox with just a mental mindset of how a jazz musician would approach playing, writing.
Okay. So first of all, jazz means two things today. That's going to be a very politically incorrect answer, okay? But for some people, jazz is sounding like it's 1940, okay?
Okay.
So bebop, essentially. Like, that's jazz, and that's it. For some other people, jazz is simply progressive thing, meaning find a way to put in different kind of chord, different kind of sonorities inside what we have. Make sense?
Okay.
So just try to expand the sound palette that we have. Think Jacob Collier, okay? Have you ever known Jacob Collier? Okay.
No.
Something to write down later. Jacob Collier, and see what he can do with sound. That's jazz effectively, but it's not jazz in the 1940s. So the first thing is to see what you're interested in. You want to sound like the 1940s, or you want to sound in general like I don't know, jazz and fusion and all this extra thing, and use jazz to find ideas. Which one is?
Probably the second, because when I think of 40s, I think of swing and big band, and I'm not
Yeah.
thinking of
You're not
that.
thinking of that.
I'm
Okay.
thinking of more like piano at a high-end diner with the jazz bands.
Okay. Okay.
That kind of style.
Makes sense. Okay, fantastic. So the first idea, okay, there are several ideas, and to cover all of them, it would be impossible in a short amount of time. So I'm just going to give you kind of a starter there, okay? So one of the most basic idea of jazz is that you're not going to play only triads, okay?
Okay.
So you're not going to play a C major chord or arpeggio. You're not going to play an A minor. At the very least, you put in the seventh. At the very least, okay? So like C major 7, E minor 7, I don't know, A minor 7, all this kind of thing. So just to make the chord sound a bit sweeter, okay? To put some slight dissonance inside. Following me so far? You know what the seventh is in a chord?
Yes.
Fantastic. Then you may not stop at the seventh, okay? You can start putting in the ninth. Okay, so I'm gonna explain. You know what the ninth is?
Yes.
More or less?
I don't
Okay.
know all the chords, but
Yes. No, well, the thing is, you could sit down and learn all the patterns, but it's better if you understand how the chord is built, so you can build it yourself.
okay.
Okay, so the triad is built by taking the root, the third, and the fifth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, imagine a scale and take the 1, 3, and 5. The seventh is the seventh, easy. Okay, the 9, the scale has only 7 notes, and the 8 is the starting note at the top, 1 octave higher. The ninth is the same as the second note of the scale, usually played an octave higher, but you don't have to. You can play it also at the lower octave.
Right.
Okay, so essentially the ninth is typically the note that it's 2 frets above the root. So on a C, the ninth is going to be a D. Okay, you could play it in the same octave, but that's typically going to sound bad. Play it at the higher octave. And so in this case, I'm playing C, which is the root, E, the third, B, the major seventh, and D, the ninth. The fifth of the chord is the one you can typically eliminate.
Okay.
Okay, so eliminate the fifth and make space for the seventh, the ninth, possibly other notes.
Okay.
Okay, but the idea is you should never, if you want to play this kind of jazz, have this kind of jazz sound, you don't want to use pure triads. in general. Okay?
Okay.
That's idea number one. So wherever you can, the idea would be to take a simple chord progression, any chord progression you want, and start playing the chord progression using the sevenths, and then maybe the ninths. And in the case of E, you're going to have a kind of flat 9, okay? And here you're going to, and then you're going to have a 9th here. The idea is, rather than getting a big book of chords or a big set of patterns, the idea is just think what are the notes inside and build your own chord.
Yeah, that simplifies it a lot.
Yeah, because it's like you start to understand how the chord is built, where the notes are found, and before you know, you kind of have a working knowledge of those shapes, as opposed to just memorizing 100 of them. If you build your own, you remember them. Or even this kind of thing. Okay, so you start with that. That would be the first concept. Okay? Vertically speaking, you don't use only triads. Then there is the horizontal concept, meaning the progressions. In jazz, you have a series of typical chord progressions.
Okay.
Most of them, many of them, follow the circle of fifths. Ever heard of the circle of fifths?
Yes.
Good. So, what happens is that you start from the root chord. Then you play another chord in the scale. Pretty much any other chord in the scale. Okay, I'm going to play an A minor 7, the 6th. And then you go down in fifths. So, down a 5th or up a 4th, which is the same. Down a 5th. And up a 4th. So, I'm starting with a C major 7. I'm getting an A minor 7, which is the 6th. Up a 4th, I meet a D. So I put a D, the D chord, D minor 7, in that key. I'm going down a 5th. I'm searching for the G chord in that key, which is the G7. And you've heard this progression. Right? Good. The idea is to learn how to follow the circle of fifths.
Okay.
I could have done C and then jump on E minor. I've done the same. You've heard this stuff.
Right.
Okay. I could have done this in minor. C minor. C minor. A flat major 7, which is the 6th chord in that. D minor 7 flat 5, which is the 2nd chord in C minor. I'm just taking a 1, 3, and 5 starting from that note in that scale. And then the G7. And then C minor 7 again. On the vertical direction, put more than the triad. At the 7th, at the 9th, at the 6th. Okay. On the horizontal direction, learn a few of the standard chord progression. This circle of fifth progression is super standard. Basically, wherever you go, you follow the circle of fifth until you go back to 1. The ending is always 2-5-1. You may have heard of 2-5-1 in jazz, which is a very common chord progression. It's because wherever you start anywhere else in the key, when you follow the circle of fifth, eventually you get it a 2, a 5, and a 1.
So can you essentially make a infinite or extremely long chord progression?
You can.
Using it?
I mean, this is one of them, and the first one I would suggest you look into. There are many other typical chord progressions of jazz. Okay. Many of them you know. It's like that's I don't know, D minor 7, D minor triad, sorry, D minor with a major 7th, D minor with a normal 7, D minor with a 6th. Basically, you have D's on top of a D minor 7. That would be the thing to learn. And whenever you see a jazz song or something, you try to identify if you see those things going on. So look, what are the chords? Are soul 7s or 6th or something else? Great. And maybe play a few of them. Well, are the chord progression a circle of fifth or not? Let's say 40% of the time you're going to find a circle of fifth. It's a very, very, very common progression. But the other 60%, they're going to find something different. They're going to find different fragments of the circle of fifth joined together somehow. Okay, so start recognizing those patterns. That would be the first place to start.
Awesome.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.